What's going on, world? Good morning. Energy, frequency, vibration. Energy, frequency, vibration. I meant to say good morning and happy Sunday until I cut myself off. So it's never fun when you do that. But yeah, hope you guys are feeling great. I'm feeling amazing. I'm going to go watch my Bucks beat the Saints after this. But before I do, I had to make sure I came and spoke to the people. It's very, very important. So, and before I get started, we got to show some love to who we are powered by. Okay. So, yeah, man, I'm definitely happy that still doing this, vibrating higher. If you are tuning into this podcast, just know that you are vibrating higher as well. That's why you're here. We are vibrating higher together. That is the objective of the universal frequency, right? So last week we spoke about a purpose and self-sabotage. And a lot of our dialogues are connected because when we think about what our purpose is and any action that we take that does not align with our purpose is a form of self-sabotage. And last week we spoke a lot about what that looks like, what the procrastination looks like, with you choosing the hardest route, with you maybe looking for a dopamine release. Self-sabotage when you balance it into your true objective. And this is, and when I say dopamine release, I mean excessively drinking, indulging, whatever you want to call it, food, television, porn, right? Anything that a person may do excessively to help them tap out or alleviate the anxiety of the moment that they're in is a form of self-sabotage. Because I say that because once you understand and align with your true purpose, you'll realize that we really don't have any time to waste. Flat out. Regardless of what you believe or how you believe it, that is the truth. And so I do want to get started by sharing a passage from Hebrews that I think suits our dialogue today. So again, this is not like a Christian podcast or anything like that, but God is here, God is present. And whenever I can find resources that will help guide our dialogue, I'm going to absolutely do so. So I'm going to add to the screen Hebrews 12:11. Now, there are so many different versions of the Bible. We're just going to stick with the New International Version just for the sake of what we're saying. All right. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Heavy. Right. When you see in the right, now this is just the context that, what is this website again? I should have, BibleHub.com. And we know that when we look for information on websites, we are mindful of the source, .com and .org. So this is just something to be taken for interpretation. I really want you to decide what this means. But the context is our fathers disciplined us for a short time as they thought best. But God disciplines us for the good so that we may share in his holiness. This is why discipline is important. I promise you, this is why discipline is important. And when we're talking to your true power to manifest, your true power that you have is not physical, despite how strong you are. Your true power is your ability to tap into the spirit, tap into your higher self, and then move the universe in your favor when you are aligned with what you were supposed to do. That is the truth, regardless of whatever you see on TV, whatever the simulation tells you. That's what I want you to understand. And having discipline or being disciplined is going to put you in the best position, right? So discipline provides rules and guidelines so you can live your life effectively and maximize your greatness. Having those rules and having those guidelines of how you're going to live does keep you aligned with where you need to be. When we think about the most successful people, and I've said this before, Bruce Lee, extremely disciplined, right? Pretty much Malcolm X, extremely disciplined. Kobe Bryant, extremely disciplined. And I'm not comparing all these people into terms of what their feats are. I'm just comparing these people that were great in their area and they were disciplined because of it. And we could do a whole podcast or a whole episode on talking about who the most disciplined people may be, right? And I would love to have a platform to where I could get some of the most successful people on this planet to show you the regiments and disciplines that they follow to keep them aligned. But there is a science and an algorithm to it. We just don't stumble upon the greatness. Often greatness is groomed, it is refined, and is done purposefully. So having that foundation is key. Discipline also creates habits and routines. And I'm gonna I'll leave Hebrews up for a little bit. Habits and routines. This is something that if you are not aware of, you can absolutely be trapped in. How you habitually and routinely set up your day and your process for success is systematic. Well, when I was a branch manager, I had a regional manager named Kevin. Shout out to Kevin Taylor. Love you, bro. Kevin will often talk about what is my process for success. And if I didn't have a process for leading my team, for leading my branch, right, how would I be successful? How was I setting myself up to be the best I possibly could be if I was not structured in my approach? And that was a jewel. And when he was saying it to me, I probably didn't even get it, to be completely honest with you. But that's what seeds are for. They're planted and then they manifest fruit later on in time. And now here I am realizing that that same approach to systematically driving success is not just for workplace alignment. We need to apply that routine of systematic success and benchmarks and expectations of what we hope to accomplish to our everyday lives. For sure. And trust me, I've also been the whole ride with the current person before. And there is a part of it where you do have to, ride the current energies. But what we're talking about is how you become the current, how you be that force, how you align yourself with the energy that's already there, but you also put some benchmarks in place to where you can be your best you. And you cannot be disciplined without that. And so, specifically, what are the areas of discipline that people may need? And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Just understand that this is not what I should do. This is a very much what we should do. And together, the tide raises all ships, right? We have to be aware of what our objective is and what our goals are. And when things get tough, when we get stuck, right? When we get stuck, we have to stop going to things that make us feel good. That is self-destructive. Self-sabotage. It's like playing an open-end video game, and there's a task that you know you have to do. It was actually built in the game for you to do so, but you are struggling to do it, so you go do these other meaningless tasks. We're losing sight. What is the true purpose of the story? All my RPG players will know what I'm talking about. I promise you. Like, subscribe, share, comment. But this is the truth. You have to make sure you are aligned in what you do and what your purpose is and how you're going to get there, and create a routine that gives you a strong foundation for being successful. Okay? Flat out, straight up. And you may say, oh, hey, Ken, blah, blah, blah. Where are you at? What are you doing? This is me narrating the journey. So as we start to infuse the things that I discussed, that I uncover, as this is also a journey of self-discovery, right? I will elevate higher. But the goal is not for just me to elevate higher. The tide raises all ships. So I'm trying to bring you with me. It's really important. Discipline also stops self-sabotage, as I just said before, and procrastination. So I've been a bad procrastinator. I've developed this habit of putting things off to the last minute, then getting it done at the last minute, pulling it off and it being great, and being like, I have a gift for pulling it off last minute. I'm good in the clutch time. That is really self-destructive. Why make it hard for yourself? Or why not apply that effort into having a greater output than applying the effort to the input? Because that's what you're doing when you wait to the last minute and you procrastinate. You're applying most of your effort to the input. When the reality is, if you apply that same effort a little more strategically, the output will be greater. That's the balance that we're looking for. Really hope my daughter doesn't burst in. Oh, you lock this door because she about to. I felt it. For all my fathers and parents in the building, you know what I mean. Right? But anyway, procrastination. You've heard me talk about video games before. I am not nice in Madden. God has blessed me with the ability to play Madden and first-person shooters. I'll humbly say it. Is a distraction. And there's often things that I went to when I had an objective that I was trying to accomplish and I got stuck. And instead of pushing through and powering through and making the self-sacrifice and being disciplined in my approach to achieve a greater output, I found myself indulging in minor things that I could be successful at. Self-sabotage. Don't do it to yourself. There's no reason to. No reason to. It also helps you manage your time. So I'm looking at my notes here. I feel like I'm preparing for a sermon. It helps you manage your time, right? So being disciplined, time is not real, but in the sense that it is finite for us, right? We cannot take it for granted. We do not have time to waste. So we always have to have the sense of urgency that time is precious. We are not in control about how much time we have left to do what we want to do. No one is. So kicking the can down the road to waste time is one of the most self-destructive things you could do. And again, that probably sounds a little bit like last week's podcast, but having a disciplined routine in place makes a lot of sense. I have brothers that are Muslim, that are Christian, that are really devout. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do certain things. And I was like, yo, why? Why? Right? But as I understand, they were applying their discipline to achieve their spiritual greatness. They just felt like, hey, for where they want to go spiritually and in this world, they knew what they could tolerate, knew what they couldn't. They knew what would make them best. That's a decision for you to make. I can't determine that if you want to have a drink or so. That's up to you. I can determine if you want to play video games, you want to smoke, you want to go party. Those are things that are part of the human experience. But let's be real. In that science experiment where they have the tube, they have the big rocks, the middle rocks, and the sand, those things are sand. And if you fill your tube with too much sand, you won't have time for the big rocks. We fill in the sand around the big rocks, the most important things. Hopefully, God. He's the one that told me to tell you this today. Your health, your physical health, your mental health. This is important. Your spiritual health, your financial health. All these things are extremely, extremely important. So when I think about what that even means, right? What that even means, like these are like some of the principles that make us successful. I also think that having a routine that you can execute builds your confidence, because not only are you systematically setting yourself up for success, you are systematically being successful, knowing what your input is going to produce output wise, and you can be confident that you can deliver. Why wouldn't you want that? I hear Jordan talking about taking final shots, how many you've missed, but you have to go through those misses to make a couple, right? And this is a little bit deviating from the topic, but it all makes sense. You can fail 1,000 times, but 1,001 could be the time that makes the most sense, that produces the best output. And it may take you 1,000 times to become disciplined in what you do. These things are not an accident. For sure. Not an accident. Not an accident. I don't really want to get up here and tell you, hey, you should do this and you should do that. Blah, 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 blah. No, that is not the objective here. This is about us breaking down the human experience and what we can do to make us most successful. So, one of the things I personally believe that life is a test. Life is a test of your intuition, what you want, what you don't want, what you find important. Right? And when we lose sight of that, we stop thinking about optimal results. Like if I told you that I was going to test you by your decisions tomorrow, you would be judged by your decisions tomorrow. You would act in a manner to where you wanted to get optimal results on your test. If I don't say that to you, you are not going to, most likely, you are not going to act in accordance for the most optimal results because you don't understand that you are being tested. And let me dissect this further, right? So we've all hit walls. I've hit walls. I have friends of mine that are going through their own personal wall hitting, and we know when we're being tested. But what is the purpose of a test? So you can advance. On the other side of a test, there is progression, right? So when we are tested, our intuition and our will is tested, it is testing us to see if this is what we really want. You have to realize that's how the universe is going to respond. Whether you want to call it, or let's back it up, the opposition, the enemy, if you want to break it down from the spiritual sense, and the devil that's trying to distract you. Either way, this simulation that we are in, this experience that you are experiencing, will test what you want. And you have to be aware that you are being tested. And you have to be aware that on the other side of your test is testimony. I'm being real with you. I'm being 100% real with you. And discipline systematically will help you prepare for those tests. That's something that I can be honest with you about, and being confident about it. If you've put the time in, your discipline and your approach for any objective that you have, you will achieve it. And I promise you, I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I need you to tell me if I am. But everything that you see in this universe, in this simulation, everything you see with your eyes was all a thought of manifestation first. It started in someone's head. And I don't mean nature and the trees and the grass, stuff like that. No, those are the things that God builds, right? Man didn't create trees, but every building, every car, every business, every company, every organization, anything like that that you've seen was once a thought first and was manifested. And there was a discipline to doing so. And this is how you ascend. You know, you'll go into the internet, you go into the world, and it'll tell you that it takes certain types of relationships and alignments and back corner deals and nepotism. Like all those things are pathways that other people have gotten to their goals. I'm here to say that for you, what you are going to do, you are going to blaze your own path. You are going to chart your own course, and your discipline will be the key. Discipline is the key to mastery, man. I think one of my first podcasts, I said masters attract masters. I've heard other athletes talk about Serena Williams and Venus Williams. I've heard comedians talk about great chess players. Blessings. I put that on the screen for sure. Masters attract masters. Mastery of a process takes a discipline and a godly understanding of your objective. And when you are aligned in your purpose, you are going to gravitate to other people that are aligned in their purpose and master what they do. It's for real. It's for real. Yo, life is so trippy, yo. So my grandmother, right? I love you, man. She gave me this book. It's from Rick Warren called Purpose Driven Life. She gave it to me a couple years ago, and of course, my stubborn ass did not read it. I'm being real with you. I just didn't do it, and I started to pick this up, and I started to take a dive in. And these passages are astounding. I just want to read one of them to you. It says, you can usually succeed in reaching a goal if you put your mind to it. But being successful and fulfilling your life's purpose are not at all the same issue. You can reach all your personal goals, becoming a raving success by the world standard, and still miss the purposes for which God has created for you. You need more than self-help advice. The Bible says self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, in my way, to finding yourself, your true self. That's heavy. Being successful and fulfilling your life's purpose are not at all the same issue. If anyone's ever felt like that, I need you to leave a comment, share it, and maybe you haven't. But I think that you being here is because you have, right? That's why you're tuning into this. That's why you're tuning into this. Oh, shout out to DnkybongsTV on a Sunday morning. Peace, peace. And so finding your purpose and being disciplined about it in the execution of that mastery is how we elevate higher. And you cannot become a master of your craft if you're not disciplined. And I'll be just on a personal level, right? So I'm a musician. I write music, right? My music is transformed over the course of, to where I said things just to shock people to while now I don't curse whatsoever, right? And in terms of mastering my craft, there's a discipline to it. And I had to ask myself, is the goal I've set for myself truly aligned with my godly purpose? Right? You have to determine that. And sometimes it doesn't intertwine, you know? And I look at it like the parallel, right? They say Christ was a carpenter. Christ could have been the illest carpenter ever, right? Sorry to bring the Bible thing up again, but I am, right? He could have been the illest carpenter ever. But his purpose was not to wield that hammer. It was to communicate the true message of God. And so this is the balance that we seek, right? So in the manner that you could have a hammer, you could be great at swinging that hammer. Where are you swinging it? How are you swinging it? What are you swinging it for? And is it aligned with your purpose? And only then will the universe work in your favor. It's important. It's important. I also believe discipline has some inherent value with controlling your emotions, right? And for any of us that are energy sensitive, empathically sensitive, how we feel at times can really dictate a part or just dictate our reality. And we have to learn how to control that. Discipline and how to deal with your emotions when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're joyful. How you deal with your state of being is huge. Right. And so I've learned that when I get upset, I have to be disciplined to not overly indulge in something that finds me reprieve. That's it. I can't go on a 6-hour Madden binge because I'm hitting a wall somewhere. I have to know that when I'm angry or when I'm upset, I may respond to things a certain manner. So I have to not only realize that I am going through an observance, but I am being observed. And what does that mean for how I act and how I carry myself? That's the part of being disciplined. Discipline also gives you the foundation that you are in complete control. And that's the heavy part, because once we take control of the will, we can't put things off on things we can't control. You can't say, oh, I'm depressed, so I medicate this way, or this just helps me deal with my anxiety, or blah, 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 right? Or I do these things because it makes me feel good. I only drink just to help me, to get the buzz down, right? We start to do those things to give that control over what we realize is heavy to pick up, right? Hopefully I articulated that correctly. But you, the user, you are in complete control at all times. And having discipline will help you maintain and establish that control. Remember, your test is more than just what you see. It's what you feel, right? Every sense that we have is just an interpretation of this simulation that we're in, right? And so how we see things, how we hear things, how we taste things, these are all the sensory. And the simulation will try to trick you. The oppressor, the objective, the devil, the adversary, whatever, will try to trick you with your own emotions. That's the only power that it has. The truth is required for optimal results. Correct? Absolutely. Absolutely. And and I promise you, the goal is to not come up here and start talking about Christ and God and blah blah blah. I mean, again, I'm not trying to preach here. I just be looking at these stories and I see the parallels and the instructions of everyday life that we were in. When Christ was tested for 40 days and 40 nights, it was also not just a test of what he saw, but his emotions, his feelings, the doubt that was tried to be cast upon him. Are you really the Son of God? Right? Mm-hmm. Why do you want what he has? I can get this for you. Don't you think you could do this better? All these things. I don't know. I'm just building a narrative, right? But that was part of the test. Those 40 days and 40 nights, when he went through that test, he was tested for his emotions. And I assume he was disciplined, right? Oh, because the stories like that about the messengers give us foundational building blocks to life things that we go through. And one of the things I want to get into the show is when we can get people from different backgrounds, different ideologies, different philosophies to share their parables and their parallels about these things that we face, because I believe the human experience is all connected. We interpret God in different ways, we interpret stories in different ways, but the math, the principle, the ideology behind what we do and why we do it has to be the same. It has to align within our purpose. We have to make sure that we do not self-sabotage ourselves, and we absolutely have to be disciplined. These are building blocks we are talking about. These are building blocks. And so I had a friend that's going through a lot, and we were just partying up, right? And I kind of felt like I was sort of enabling, but it's understood that, like, yo, well, life throws a lot at you. Enjoy yourself. Try to get through it is a natural thing that we do. I had to call him and say, bro, you are in control. I mean, yes, I'm not telling you not to live your life. Whatever you want to do in terms of recreation, you can. But when we are going to recreation, in lieu of facing what our true task is at the moment, we are self-sabotaging ourselves. And that is not discipline. Yo, these are things, man. These are things. And I've started to even change the way how I prepare about what I'm going to talk about. Now I just go in my backyard, I pull up my pen and pad, and I just listen. I just listen to what the universe sends me. And again, as much as I said that I'm talking to you, I'm also talking to myself. This is not the hey, do 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 this because I want you to do it. This is hey, this is how we should do it. This is how we should do it. Together, we hold each other accountable. We hold each other accountable. That's what the village is about. Um, that's why God gave us each other so we could support each other. And the children of righteousness along their alignment, and helping other people and aligning with their purpose and shining as bright as possible towards their light and helping other people find their light. There is a science to this. But we can only get to that part if we are disciplined in what we do. Mic drop. So we're evolving. We're evolving. This podcast, when I first got into it, I had so many ideas that I wanted to talk about. Then when I started to do it, I didn't want to talk about it. Then I had other things, right? And then I realized that when it comes to how I'm doing this, I'm just communicating what we're going through. And if you are going through the human experience and you face some obstacles and you stumble before, and Lord knows I've started and stopped plenty of things. Tech will tell you up and down with this podcast, I've been there for sure. For sure. But as I start to align it with what I'm here for, right? And what I believe God is using me for, to help people best as I can, to inspire people, to help people themselves. It's just about the fire, lighting that fire in other people, and God is the flame, and He'll take care of the rest. When I think about that, and when I align that into what we're doing here with this podcast, I don't have to think of anything. Everything's already there. For sure. I don't have to create any content. I don't have to be an ambulance chaser. We don't have to do none of that to do what we do. For sure, yo. Like, subscribe, share, by the way. Like, subscribe, share. There's a lot going on. I also have a nonprofit you heard me talk about, the FNX Foundation. We are rolling out the Hometown Love 2023 food drive shortly. My website is being built. And I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to talk to you about it. I'm excited to go through the emotions of setting a target to raise awareness for children of needy families and providing resources and inspiration to them. That's what we do. I'm going to show you the how I do, and I'm going to talk to you about the why I do, but that's what we do. And the only thing I can encourage is you can support my cause or support your own, for sure. If there's something that you find important, that you think needs to be addressed, that you think needs to be advocated for, and it aligns with your purpose, absolutely do not wait one more day, one more moment, one more second. That's the sort of sense of urgency we have to have. So I'm excited. I got a project coming up. There's so many things I'm getting involved in. I'm going to be doing more financial literacy around home ownership and first-time home buyers to help get people into homes. So the universe is aligning, right? Aligning the way it needs to. And I hope it aligns for you. The goal is to vibrate higher in the universal frequency. So listen, that's what I got to talk about today. It's kickoff. I got to go see my Bucks beat the Saints. I've enjoyed this dialogue. I hope you have as well. Shout out to DnkybongsTV. Click the link in the bio to actually listen to the Universal Frequency album. It's a great precursor to my next one coming up. And yeah, peace and love. All right. Enjoy your Sunday.
Energy, frequency, vibration. Energy, frequency, vibration. Energy, frequency, vibration. Go and look at destiny.